Today, let's talk about one of the biggest mysteries in relationships. Why do men find it so hard to say, "I love you," and express their feelings? It's that elephant in the room that causes so much confusion, and we're finally going to crack the code on what's really happening beneath the surface. Men rarely express their feelings with words. He doesn't tell you "I love you" all the time. But remember last Tuesday? When he drove across town at 11 p.m. in the rain just to bring you that medication you forgot at home? That wasn't just kindness. That was love. Just not in the language you've been taught to recognize. You've been fed this Hollywood version of love, right? The dramatic declarations, the grand gestures, the poetic speeches that make everyone cry. But what if men are actually speaking love in a completely different language? One so easy to miss that you might be surrounded by it right now without even knowing. By the end of this video, you'll never look at your relationship the same way again. You'll spot love hidden in plain sight, expressed through actions that seem ordinary but carry extraordinary meaning. Think of it as learning to read a new language, one where love communicates through behavior instead of words. Once you crack this code, you'll discover affection that's been surrounding you all along. Why men find it so hard to say those three words? Think about it. From the time they're little boys, what messages do most guys hear about emotions? Big boys don't cry. Toughen up. Man up. Year after year, these messages sink in deep. While most girls are encouraged to talk about feelings, boys learn early that emotional expression can make them targets for ridicule or shame. By the time a boy grows into a man, showing emotion openly can feel as awkward as writing with his non-dominant hand. It's not impossible, just incredibly uncomfortable and something he's had almost no practice doing. The male brain approaches emotions differently too. Many men experience feelings more as physical sensations or action urges rather than as clear feelings they can easily name and express. What you might see as emotional unavailability could actually be emotional expression you haven't learned to recognize yet. And once you see what comes next, you'll start noticing signs of love that have been hiding in plain sight all along. Hidden love signal 1. He remembers the small things you forget. Picture this. 6 months ago, you mentioned offhandedly that you love a specific brand of chocolate that's hard to find. You forgot you even said it. Then one day, he casually hands you a bar of it, saying only, "Saw this at the store." Most women would think, "That's nice," and move on. But what just happened was the equivalent of a love letter. That small gesture revealed that your passing comment has been living in his mind for months. He's been scanning store shelves, keeping an eye out, all because you once mentioned you liked something. When a man mentally catalogs your preferences, how you take your coffee, which pillow you prefer, what snack you reach for when you're stressed, he's creating a database of ways to make your life better. This isn't just being considerate. It's love expressed through careful attention. You've probably heard something like this before. "My husband never says much about feelings, but he knows exactly which wine I'll want with different meals, sometimes before I know myself. He's been paying attention for 15 years, and somehow that feels more intimate than any love poem." Here's what most people miss. These small acts of remembering require hours of quiet observation and mental note-taking, all invisible emotional work that reveals how present you are in his thoughts, even when he's not saying a word about it. And this is just the beginning of what you might be missing. Hidden love signal. 2. His problem-solving is his poetry. That annoying leaky faucet you mentioned last week. You come home to find it fixed. Your car makes a strange noise. He spends his Sunday afternoon figuring out what's wrong. You might roll your eyes at men's obsession with fixing things when emotional support seems more important. But here's the twist. For many men, solving practical problems is their most natural expression of deep care. It's their way of making your world more comfortable, more functional, more secure. They're literally removing obstacles from your path, a physical manifestation of I want your life to be easier. Think about it this way. When you tell him about a problem, his brain immediately starts working on how to solve it. It's not that he doesn't care about how you feel, it's that solving the problem is how he shows he cares about your feelings. If he can make the thing hurting you go away, that's his way of saying, your pain matters to me. This problem-solving instinct often creates conflict when men try to fix emotional issues when you just want to be heard. But understanding this as an expression of love can transform how you see these actions. When he changes your oil before your long trip, he's not just doing car maintenance. He's saying, I worry about your safety, and this is how I can protect you, even when I'm not there. It's protection, provision, and emotional investment, all wrapped in an act that looks merely practical on the surface. His actions around your shared space can tell you a lot about his feelings too. Hidden love signal 3. He makes room for you in his world. Look around his space. Has he cleared out a drawer for your things? Started stocking your favorite snacks? Adjusted his morning routine so you can have breakfast together? These modifications might seem trivial, but for someone with established patterns and preferences, changing them is significant. It's a statement that his life works better with you integrated into it. You might not have noticed, but pay attention to how he's rearranged his space to accommodate you. Maybe he's completely reorganized his garage, his sanctuary for years, to make room for your things. He probably never said a word about it. He just did it, and then carried on like it wasn't a big deal. For many men, especially those with practical mindsets, these concrete adjustments reveal emotional commitment more clearly than verbal declarations ever could. They're saying, I've restructured my world around your presence in it. These changes aren't typically announced or pointed out. They're made quietly, matter-of-factly. And that's exactly why they're so easy for you to overlook as the profound statements of love that they actually are. Now think about how reliably he shows up for you. There's something significant happening there too. Hidden love signal 4. His consistency speaks volumes. These days, people cancel plans all the time. Last minute something came up texts have become normal. But when a guy is always there for you without fail, that's not just basic courtesy, it's a big deal. This goes beyond just showing up on time for dates. It's about being the one who answers your call at 3 a.m. when you need someone. The one who drops everything to help when your family has an emergency. The one who sits quietly with you after a terrible day at work. Just being there. Consistency doesn't get likes on Instagram. Nobody makes TikToks about a partner who's reliably there day after day. But this steady presence is what builds real trust and deeper love over time. For men who have trouble saying how they feel, being someone you can always count on becomes their way of showing commitment. Their consistent presence tells you, I might not have the right words, but I'm here for you, always. Let's look at another way men express their feelings that often gets misunderstood completely. Hidden love signal 5. When protective isn't controlling. Text me when you get home. Let me check your tire pressure before your trip. I don't like the look of that Uber driver. Let me get your license plate. You might find these behaviors annoying or controlling. But here's what's actually happening. When a man worries about your safety, even in ways that seem excessive, he's expressing something profound about your value in his life. This protective instinct extends beyond physical safety. Has he ever offered advice on dealing with a difficult colleague? Suggested ways to approach a challenging situation? While it might sometimes come across as him thinking you can't handle things yourself, it's often his way of trying to shield you from potential harm or distress. For many men, especially those who struggle with direct emotional expression, protecting those they care about becomes the primary channel for their feelings. It's love translated into vigilance, into planning, into preventative action. You might have experienced this without recognizing it. Maybe your partner insists on driving you to the airport for every trip, no matter how early the flight. It might have taken you years to realize that this was his way of making sure you were safe, of staying connected to you until the last possible moment. He couldn't say, "I'll miss you," easily, but he could wake up at 4 a.m. to make sure you got there safely. There's another quiet way men show love that you might never hear about, and that's exactly the point. Hidden love signal 6. The sacrifices he never mentions. Many men have been taught from childhood to shoulder burdens silently. They might rearrange their budget to cover a special dinner out, take on extra work to provide more stability, drive the longer commute so you can live in a neighborhood you prefer. The kicker? They often don't tell you about these sacrifices, not because they're building resentment, but because in their mind, these aren't even sacrifices when weighed against your happiness. You might be surprised to discover your partner has been working overtime for months without mentioning it. When you ask why he hasn't told you, he might seem genuinely confused by the question. "It's just what needed to be done. Why would I complain about doing something that helps our family?" This tendency to shoulder burdens quietly isn't about being secretive. Many men believe that discussing the difficulties they take on for loved ones would diminish the gift or seem like complaining. Their silence isn't absence. It's a form of protection that often goes completely unrecognized by you. Sometimes the most genuine expressions of love come from the most unexpected places, like his enthusiasm about things he loves. Hidden love signal 7. Sharing his passions is his form of vulnerability. When your usually reserved man enthusiastically explains his favorite band's music to you, or teaches you about his hobby, or wants to introduce you to his favorite movie, pay close attention. This isn't just casual conversation. For many men, their passions are extensions of themselves. By sharing these interests, they're opening a door to their inner world that not everyone gets to see. It's emotional intimacy that doesn't require the vocabulary of feelings. Watch for the animation in his voice, the enthusiasm in his gestures when he talks about these things with you. That excitement, that desire to share something he values with you specifically, that's a form of love. You'll notice there's often a boyish quality to a man sharing something he's passionate about. You're seeing a version of him that exists before adult expectations of masculinity settled in, a more open, unguarded self that he's choosing to reveal to you. There's another powerful form of vulnerability that might surprise you even more. Hidden love signal 8. Letting you see him fail. In a culture where masculine identity is tied to strength and competence, allowing you to witness moments of weakness or failure can be profoundly intimate. If he attempts something difficult with you present, knowing he might not succeed, if he shares stories of past mistakes, if he asks for help with something he can't figure out on his own, these moments might seem unremarkable to you, but they represent a significant lowering of guards. He's choosing to be authentically human with you rather than maintaining a perfect facade. For many men, this vulnerability is terrifying. From boyhood, they've received the message that failure diminishes their value, particularly in the eyes of those they want to impress. By letting you see him struggle, he's saying, "I trust you with the real me, not just my strengths." You might recall a moment when your usually capable, confident partner couldn't figure out how to fix something, and instead of pretending or giving up, looked at you and admitted, "I have no idea what I'm doing here." The fact that he could admit that to you might be bigger than any "I love you." The vulnerability hidden in these seemingly small moments is often missed entirely by you, but once you see it, you'll never look at these situations the same way again. Hidden love signal 9. Physical closeness has its own language. Have you noticed how he gravitates toward your physical space? The way he sits next to you on the couch when there are other empty seats. How he finds small reasons to touch you. A hand on your shoulder, fixing your collar. The brief touch of fingers when passing something. For many men, physical closeness is an emotional language all its own. They may struggle to articulate feelings verbally, but communicate volumes through their desire to be near you. And importantly, this isn't always sexual. Often, it's simply the comfort of shared space with someone who matters deeply. Touch and closeness create bonding in the brain. But for men who don't have as many approved ways for expressing connection, physical proximity becomes especially significant as an emotional outlet. You might recognize this in your own relationship. A partner who rarely discusses feelings but falls asleep with his hand resting somewhere on you, your arm, your back, just making contact. It's like his way of saying, "I'm here, we're connected," without words. These quiet physical connections might be saying everything his words aren't, if you know how to read the signals. Pay special attention to how his body language changes when you enter a room. Does he orient toward you, even slightly? Does he seem more relaxed in your presence? These subtle physical cues often reveal more about his emotional state than any words could express. Many women miss these physical indicators completely or dismiss them as meaningless habits. But for men who've been taught that verbal emotional expression is uncomfortable or unsafe, these physical connections become their primary love language. Next time you're together, notice how your physical closeness follows patterns. Is there a particular way he likes to sit with you? Does he have specific moments where physical connection seems most important to him? These patterns aren't random. They're part of his unique emotional communication system. Hidden Love Signal 10. He builds a future with you in it. Listen for the subtle ways he weaves you into his vision of the future. That coffee table would look good in our next place. We should try that restaurant when we visit Chicago next year. When we're older, I think a house with fewer stairs would be smart. These casual references might seem unremarkable to you, but they reveal something significant. In his mind, you're part of the landscape of his future. For someone who might be economical with emotional declarations, this natural inclusion of you in tomorrow speaks volumes. This future orientation is especially significant for men who tend to be pragmatic thinkers. They're not just daydreaming. They're mentally constructing a shared future and placing you at the center of it, even if they never sit you down for a formal conversation about where this is going. These seemingly throwaway comments about future plans might actually be some of the most meaningful expressions of commitment you'll ever receive. What makes these comments particularly significant is their unplanned, natural quality. He's not trying to impress you or make some grand declaration. He's simply thinking out loud, and in his mind, you're already a permanent part of the picture. Notice how far into the future these casual comments extend. Is he talking about next summer's vacation, retirement plans, where you might live 5 years from now? The time horizon of these comments often reveals the depth of his assumed commitment to your relationship. Pay attention also to how he handles major life decisions. Does he automatically consider how they'll affect you and your future together? Does he talk about career moves, financial planning, or other significant choices with your joint future in mind? This integration of you into his decision-making process is one of the strongest indicators of emotional commitment a man can show. Now that you're seeing these hidden expressions of love, you might be wondering, how do you respond? How do you bridge this communication gap? Here are 4 simple but powerful ways to create stronger connection. Acknowledge these acts for what they truly are. A simple, "I know that was your way of showing you care, and I appreciate it," can validate his form of emotional expression. Honor his language while sharing yours. "When you fixed my car, I felt really cared for. Sometimes I also need to hear how you feel about me." Create shared translations. Work together to develop a shared understanding of what certain actions mean emotionally. "When you check in on me during the day, I'm going to take that as your way of saying you're thinking about me." Remember that emotional expression is a skill that can grow. Men who have spent decades suppressing emotions won't suddenly become poetry reciting open books. Appreciating small steps toward more direct communication can encourage continued growth. Here's the life-changing truth you need to know. The most beautiful relationships aren't those where both people express love identically, but where different languages of love are recognized, respected, and valued. When you expand your understanding of how love manifests, you often discover it's been surrounding you all along, just wearing different clothes than you expected. So the next time he changes your windshield wipers before a storm, or remembers exactly how you like your tea, or simply sits quietly beside you during a hard moment, recognize it for what it might be. A love letter, written in his native emotional language, waiting for you to read between the lines. What hidden expressions of love have you noticed in your relationship? The answer might just transform how you see the love that's already there, hiding in plain sight. And here's your challenge. In the next week, try to spot 3 of these hidden signals in your relationship. Then, acknowledge them out loud. You might be amazed at what opens up between you when you start speaking each other's love language fluently. Because sometimes, the love you're searching for is already right in front of you. You just need new eyes to see it. All along. That's been surrounding you all along.